Hi, I'm back on YouTube. Hey, they just bumped me off. Obviously, that's something I'm bringing forward truth. You have to ask Charlie Kirk now. Now that Donald Trump is not releasing the Epstein files, are you that far up his ass still, or are you still, got to go through your bathroom and make sure you put the fucking brown off your nose? And see, I like, Donald Trump is the current president, and he thinks he's the king of the world. See, I could say Hermes because he was a traveler. Merchandise, and, all of what Trump represents, all of what Peter Pan, Peter represented. Why do you think Peter hated Mary Magdalene? And Donald Trump has no respect for women. Pretty sure Peter was gay, and he was in love with Jesus, and he hated Mary Magdalene. It was that part of, how dare you choose her over me? So, Jesus was like, bisexual. But people say, well, that's blasphemy. Is it? Because you perceive your Bible to say that Jesus was saying that men having sex with men was wrong? No. What he was referring to was men having sex with children. But some didn't like that. Oh, well, a little bit of truth hurts, right? Because, oh, well, the book don't say that, and all this is proven, yeah, and it's being disproven too. New things are coming to light, stuff that's been hidden. So, hey, with the Epstein files, realize that, that was probably the biggest decoy, because they like to do things underground. And Sam's Island would be the perfect spot for it. Donald Trump wants to get over here because Oak Island, he wants the treasure. He's probably the one that is footing the bill for Oak Island. Donald McGinnis never died because he was always Donald Trump. He dressed up as the Pope, or did a, what do you call it, as the Pope? As the Pope. Then he did one as Superman. He did one as a king. See, who recruited Peter, and who would have been the one to lead Peter to believe that Jesus would choose him over Mary Magdalene? See, this is just a different perspective. I'm allowed to ask questions. I'm allowed to bring forward of how I am being, how things are being channeled through me. This is Spirit's journal. You know, parts of the one that you left out of Mary Magdalene's book were not left in. You deliberately tore them out because there were many manuscripts. Did you think that there was only that much? You know, that's part of what they're looking on other people on Oak Island. They're just not saying it. You know, when he's looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and all of a sudden you say that Donald Trump has an Ark of the Covenant in his penthouse. What was it said that Samuel Ball found? Treasure. You know, Samuel Ball and Dolan McGinnis, they were pretty fucking cutthroat. Pretty cutthroat. And didn't P. Diddy like to dress in all white? These parties were all white, as if as if it was purity, right? But that was a slap in the face to the true purity, because they like to see the blood all over it. And this may be too gruesome for some. Better go fucking censor yourself. Get up this degree. Tell you, the fucking kiss ass. Well, maybe he did, since looking in the Book of Thomas. See, I want you to think of it this way. Was Jesus Anthony Vaughn? Because Jesus left at a young age, right? What was he, 12 or 13? Well, you know, hey, how old was Donald McGinnis? Because I'm pretty sure Donald McGinnis was older than Samuel Ball. And Samuel Ball was 17, and Anthony Vaughn was 13. Do you think that P. Diddy was the ringleader of that? Who do you all see Donald Trump standing with? Partying with P. Diddy and partying with Jeffrey Epstein. And what did they do to Jesus? So they killed him, right? So that's why it's like, you can't, in the Book of Thomas, he says, if you don't hate your father, if you don't hate your mother, if you don't hate your brothers and sisters, then you can't, and bear his cross, you can't follow him. See, that part, you know, certain things for a while. And then it might make sense because, I look at the shit that they write now and none of it makes sense. It's all in in what you class as gibberish. That's the true gibberish. It's bastardized. So, didn't Donald Trump want to open the floodgates in California? And what just happened in Florida, in California? Took it away with water for California, but ended up floodgate. You know, go watch Heaven Almighty, where the senator was cutting corners building a dam, and the lake overflowed and flooded. Cutting corners, foreseeable. And in this, was it telling you that they opened floodgates? Why else? If nobody had floods before, and then all of a sudden it's just going massive, and you say it's from rainfall, sounds a lot like Evan Almighty. Seriously, go watch it. You might learn something. I just heard somebody try to tell me to watch too many movies. Nope. Maybe when you watch all those movies, you just don't see it from the third eye, or maybe you should go watch them, and you might get enlightened if you look at them, see the movie, and then look around the world. Yeah, I do hold my fingers like this because it keeps you centered and balanced. And if you think your leaders don't fucking know that, I just don't have a filter. And in some cases, Donald Trump don't either. Well, no, he actually doesn't have a filter, but his filter teaches him to lie. Or his non-filter teaches him to lie because he's a pathological liar. And when he does, it's like the boy who cried wolf, the shepherd. People think he's related to David, the shepherd. Well, he was actually the boy who cried wolf because he wanted the attention. That's why he's on it. And there's a lot more in there than what you realize. There's addresses. And people say, well, of course, like they got the names, they'd have the addresses. Do you not realize that maybe those addresses would be placed? Because, like I said, I did come across a document when I was looking into my ancestry line where Martin Sheen had signed the paper, the document, with regards to owning property in Nova Scotia. Why do you think Nova Scotia is like a treasure? But I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump is the one funding the bill for Oak Island, and that's why they won't contact me back. Bingo. Shame on you, Donald. Or should I say Donald McGinnis? Or should I say Peter? Or Peter Pan? Or Peter Piper? Because you ain't no fucking saint. People get insulted. But that's the Catholic Church, yeah? And I was baptized in a United Roman Catholic Church. And it was a Catholic Church who did an exorcism on me and just told me, oh, just next time things come in, just pray and say for Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Well, that didn't do shit. Because it can't be in the name of Jesus. It's you who has to do the work. It's you who has to stand up to that demon, that darkness, that shadow, that dark night of the soul, those spirits. You know, if you kind of looked into dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff, you'd probably find out. Speak your language. Speak to your spirit. But hey, I said there's no such thing as coincidences. Samuel Ball owned Sam's Island, which Samuel Ball looks exactly like an older version of what P. Diddy would look like at that age. Never found pictures of Donald McGinnis yet, which is strange. Because, you know, Donald McGinnis was said to have owned a lot of property on Oak Island, too. So Samuel Ball owned Sam's Island, which looks like P. Diddy. Donald Trump is said to have friends that live on Sam's Island, but there's no houses to be seen. Jeffrey Epstein, is said to have the island, Virgin Island, Epstein Island. Are you getting it yet? And coincidence that the girl that was supposed to have, the 15-year-old girl that was supposed to have died in the fire, her name just happens to be Elizabeth, and it says to Elizabeth. A message to Elizabeth. Is that Jesus' truth? Is that a confession? You know, the Catholic Church likes to do confessing. That they'll go in and they'll confess, and then they'll turn around and they'll go right back out again and do the exact same thing and figure, oh, I'll just come in on such and such a day and do another one. And then the Christian Baptist Church or evangelical or what have you, whatever church, you know, you take your piece of bread and you take your wine and you say it's the blood of Christ and the flesh of Christ, and you fucking eat it. So that's much like cannibalism. You know, they did like to torture people. They were the ones that come up with, what is it, that chastity belt? You know, leave a woman in her own spank and then say she's dirty because you put her there. They didn't soil themselves, you soiled them. And then you demonized them and said that they were dirty. No, you're the dirty ones. And you're pretty fucking sick. And see, it's not just the Christians. It's every one of them. because you say you're doing it in the name of God. No, you're doing it in your own name because you're the one doing it. That's the part of wear your own cross instead of expecting someone else to do it for you. So you killed your mother and child and father. At least you thought you did. ¿Qué se te ocurre? No es, my throat chakra has been just like right now, it's like right in here. It's like, you really want to try to pull my tongue out to stop me from talking. Well, I no longer use my tongue for talking. It might move, but it's my spirit that speaks. You know, my soul and my spirit work together. We may fight a little, we may have a little discrepancy sometimes, but that's the Trinity, mother, father, children. Sorting their shit out because somebody wanted everyone to hate their mother, father, brothers, and sisters, but they couldn't follow them. So they turned you on. So whose words were they? Were they Jesus' or were they Peter's? I just thought that they were Peter's because I feel it in my body when I get the right answer. Because spirit releases. Dice lo que pudiste notar. Lo que tú será. See, why do you think Donald Trump is using so many scare tactics on people? See, right now, people are saying, well, you're not looking at Russia because, like, there's a lot going on. And maybe Donald Trump is the decoy. He didn't like me saying that. And why doesn't he want you saying that? Because he wants the attention. And what's happening? All eyes are on the United States, on North America. Donald Trump has thrown out all shitballs of tariffs everywhere, like 200% tariffs or 400% tariffs. Seriously, dude. Are you sure you're not saying terrorist? Because every time I would like go to say the word tariffs, terrorist would come up. And that's what you are. Because like Ivana said to me one other day here in my life, you weren't born here. So the thing is, they don't want people speaking the truth. You censor yourself on these platforms. I said before, like people on here saying unalived, Oh, they shot him, and he became unalived. They unalived him. They shot him and unalived him. No, they shot him and killed him. They didn't rape someone. They raped someone, and that's why the shadow bans, and then that's why like TikTok wants to do this because they're using the language. Oh wait, are they using the language, or are they the ones performing the acts? I feel that right here. Крisi мата на ситуя сотore куресата русимо тому сута esuduturi suta geta no shalea. See, I know I have at least 40,000 ancestors, guides, and angels that have my back, and it's on both sides. And you have ones too. See, Donald Trump wasn't really shot. Go watch fucking wrestling. Or think of Halloween, those capsules. What did he do? First thing he did was grab for his ear, and then he moved his hand, and there was like a bit of blood. Do you realize how much fucking blood would be from it, like from there? And no, it would have tore his ear. You say it just grazed him. Why didn't it shoot anybody behind him? Just did it? Or do you see that person still walking around? How do you think they get you to believe things? That's the true propaganda. Conspiracy theories are coming to light. People are saying that it's a conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is on the list. Why do you think Pam Bondi is fighting it? Because she was one of their victims. And then she became one of them. Am I throwing accusations? No, that's just my theory. Conspiracy theory, that's just my theory of, the reason why they would be reluctant to do this after they had already had it and said that they were releasing it. But you get some people on these things and they're commenting, oh, well, what does it matter? Hey, bot, when did he pardon you? Because that's what it is. Do you realize how many fucking people Donald Trump pardoned? Seriously. Oh, it was just the ones that the ones that we know about. But now Donald Trump is acting just like a fucking puppet, just like Peter Pan, the pussy. he likes to use that word. He did say that this woman had a really nice pussy. Well, that's not very much ladylike language coming from a lady. Hey, hey, I see a lot of women using it. Really, would say me and my bitches. So you're saying me and my dogs. So hey, people, anytime somebody's saying me and my bitches, they're calling you a fucking dog, and they got you on the goddamn fucking leash. See the bitch. You say it's the dog, but the bitch is a female dog, right? See what context are you using it in? Because karma is a bitch. It means that the dog has just turned on you because you abused it for way too fucking long. God forbid anyone fight back, right? Walk like a fucking soldier. Don't be a warrior because you might have to go with the flow. Not do as you're told. Better go pray for the picture of your Pope in front of the picture of your Pope. Because I'm telling you right now, Peter was the one who actually had Jesus killed. Because there's a version where that did happen, even though people say it didn't. You look at throughout time, Horus, Christos, or how we pronounce it, Krishna, all those ones, same story, different versions of itself, different masks, same story, just different versions. But it was still always the same. Jesus was always Mary Magdalene's because those were the spirits at the beginning that started. The mother, Lucifer, took a leap of faith while she was pregnant, and she bare the child, Gaia and Uranus. See, the thing is, I believe that Elizabeth, when my sixth grade granddaddy got killed, because I'm pretty sure Samuel Ball did it because, or Peter, which would have been both Donald McGinnis and Samuel Ball, because I channeled back off Bula, we ain't taking your shit. And when you look up Bula, it represents Peter and Paul. Your Pope Peter, Pope Paul. And then they have St. Paul's Church, St. Peter's Church. You have a Church of Jesus Christ, but he was never called saint. I heard somebody say because of God. Well, wait a minute. He always said that he was son of God. and he is one with the Father, meaning he is the Father's son. And the child of God, which would be the Virgin Mother. Something like that. And I felt that cut off. Well, good, cut it off. Grisito no isilay, esuto kurulea. Like seriously, like I see a lot of people like you're talking about the Epstein files, you're talking about the biblical stuff, like you're talking about the mystics. Mystics is the indigenous, the spiritual aspect of things, aspect of life, the true nature. There was this one I watched a video of this girl. She was saying about like the Christians and that we're like the ones that use the crystals and all that stuff were demonic. With all due respect, no respect required. I do. You guys were the ones putting people on crosses and crucifying them, and you said, "Oh, well, you guys are the ones doing spells." Really? Actually, that was the church doing it. Because this here picture, I heard somebody say, I thought you said the church was you, the temple. Well, this here represents there is a spell on the church. And the spell is caused from them fucking you from behind, screwing you over from behind. See, didn't Donald Trump also say that he was going to be bringing out the disclosure of all the stuff that was supposed to be taking place within the UFOs and stuff like that? But hey, people don't care about that, right? Don't you think it's all connected? Why do you think they're shooting these crafts down? Is it because it's the enemy? Some of them are them, but is it because it's the enemy or is it the extended family? Do I talk too crazy for you? See, the thing is, I know there are people on here that understand this. It makes a lot of sense because their spirit lived it, and so did yours. And it's just covering it up. That's why it's fighting so much. Rewriting history, where all sides of history gets to be heard, and their story gets to be told. Their side gets to be told. See, that's why they don't want you collaborating with one another. They want to keep you separated, create disease and famine. It keeps you separated, keeps you in low vibration. and it keeps you bowing to a false king. It says that these people are kissing his ass. Well, these other prime ministers and presidents and what have you. They say they're kissing his ass. Are they, or are you using extortion and blackmail and a little bit of voodoo yourself? You are a fucking warlock. That's why you referred to the witch hunt. In the witch hunt, you were taking land. My great grandma, she couldn't stand owning San Diego. She was around. She had to live there because they had no property there. They were homeless people hiding out in the woods, like the true cowards they were. See, they were created from other cowards. But maybe if you look back, they actually gave birth to themselves. They become their own father, their own grandfather, their own brother or sister. They say, oh, how the fuck is that possible? Ask Donald Trump because he knows. Donald, in the book of Byron Trump, Adventures, Baron Trump Adventures. I'm going to say it again. Do you really understand and know why Donald Trump wears those coats? Do you not realize what he's trying to hide? Think of it this way: the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Notre Dame was a Catholic church, right? And the Catholic Church did it not stem from the Jewish, not the true Jewish, but once again, false Jewish. The ones with the oath that Donald Trump signed. Because I did have a Freemason tell me that Donald Trump signed the Islamic oath. Sorry, took the Islamic oath. Maybe he did have to sign something. That's where you play both fields. Because you are the sport. But not only did he do it with to the Islamic oath, but he also took an oath to Russia. So you can't stand Zelensky, and you can't stand the, I don't know if it's a prime minister or a president of China. See, China is always the dragon, everywhere's the dragon. And you know, Hermes represents the two snakes and the sword. That represents that the two snakes are wrapped around the sword of air, trying to cut off circulation to the tongue, to silence you so that you can. In fact, Donald Trump, when we had COVID, Donald Trump told people to drink bleach. Whether you think he was joking or not, you know, in desperate measures like that, some people would take that advice. But I'm going to say it, and I said it before. COVID-19, when you decode it, it gives a DEA number, okay? And then if you look at what the actual name of COVID was, it was coronavirus, which the corona represents the outer of the sun, and it's sending off solar flares, and you're getting solar storms, you're getting hit with plasmatic energy. Right now, in here, I can feel it in my solar plexus because it's that part of your gut, your like just that knowing, but talking with your gut, having your heart, your heart, your mind's eye, and your gut eye communicating with one. The mother, father, and the children, which the temple is the Holy Spirit. But that's what the two snakes coiled around the sword represents. It's trying to cut off the tongue of it. It's trying to keep you from speaking the truth. It's keeping you sick, dumbed down. In all honesty, I don't see where Donald Trump has really helped anyone beneficially except for the ones that he pardons and the ones that, you know, he likes to pimp out. Got to try out the product before you pimp it, right? Que la calle sería. I commented on a thing where people were saying about Donald Trump was 56 and he was making rude comments about Lindsay Lohan when she was 16. This is what it said. Now I looked it up to see, like, you know, how old she had been at that time. And it said 18. A guy commented and said she was 18, but he still tried to justify it. So I looked into it. Yes, she was 18. But my comment was, you know, seriously, a fucking 56-year-old man with an 18-year-old. What the fuck do you think he's trying to do? Seriously, why do you think they always look so doped up and the life sucked out of them? They groom them. Hey, press secretary Caroline Levitt, how was it? How was your grooming? Because I know you went to a grooming university and then you married a 51-year-old man. And he just happens to be a developer too, just like Donald Trump. So, in the movie Back to the Future, they had Donald get in the DeLorean and go back to the past in the 50s. And it was betting on horse races or dog races, like betting on those kind of things. And it was said that was how he made his fortune. This made his fortune. And he had a penthouse with a lot of gold in it. And he was abusive to his wife, and his was shipped off to his stepchildren, and then went after Marty McFly because Marty McFly was the one that knew the truth. So he tried to kill him. And see, then they had it that he was cleaning cars. And everybody says Donald Trump is a car salesman. Yeah, and he's not a very good one at that. He only knows how to manipulate people. So that's why I say everyone has protection, but in a different way. Because what you're seeing on stage right now, I really think it's the real Donald Trump. And do you really think it's the real Melania? And do you even really believe that Melania and Donald Trump are still together? Almost certain, probably, if you looked, you'd find out that they were either in the process of divorce or they're actually divorced. You didn't mind saying it about Justin Trudeau, right? Or Bill Gates and his wife. See, nobody wants to believe that because you think that Donald Trump is working. The only person he wants to save is himself. It's okay to save yourself, but when you're doing it on the backs of others, you may not be touched in the Supreme Court, but there is an international world court. And above that, and first and foremost, the main law are the laws of the universe. And it always has a boomerang effect. What goes out comes back. What goes up comes down, unless you manipulate gravity. What shifts you? Your moods, your emotions. Why do you think that those anger and stuff like that, they consider those, and especially the right wing conservatives, it's considered the deadly sin. Your emotions and feelings. That's why they dumb you down. And that's why they keep you focused on jackasses like Donald Trump. You know, you have a donkey, one that's stubborn. It will carry you to safety, but it will buck you off if you take advantage of it. And then you have the mule, who's sterile, can't produce children. Uranus. You figure Uranus figured he was the rightful king, but he sure showed that he didn't make much of a king, except for his how do I put this with the well, I don't know if I can say them right now. He likes having his billionaire buddies around, but they're all falling away from him. Or is it because, they're backing away and saying, we're not going down with you? Let the captain go down in his own ship? Because one day my ex-husband channeled this part that he was the captain of the ship and I was just second hand. Yeah, I don't think so. I'm the captain of my own ship. And maybe you're the jackass that got kicked off. Verità sarei tu in full. Like when you have your government, it's like a bunch of kids having temper tantrums because they want to be the ones in charge. They want to be the ones that make the rules. And if it doesn't work for them, they'll change it. Except the thing is, whether it was put through the courts, it was never legal because Donald Trump was not legal. See, whoever did up the Constitution, they themselves was a criminal. See, people look at like kings and queens as always being a bad thing, but it represents the mother and father, and it's falling apart. They're not working together. One is demonizing the other, and the other one is trying to get through. Because you're always the captain of your own ship, and you say chief in command. You put Donald Trump as chief in command. Do you not realize, like people said about the Antichrist? Okay, so if there was two Christs, there'd be two Antichrists, right? Okay, against one another. One for the people and one for selfish gain. Because one is the virus and one is the antivirus. So Trump would have went through time and manipulated things because didn't a lot of people say, you know, he was going to be better than Hitler and what have you, because that would have been a going back in time thing to learn everything of what they did wrong. Because it sure the fuck wasn't from him reading books. Because it was experience. Della tu essere è molto turreto. You know, you say God is the master. People would say Jesus was your master. You were bowing to a figure. You were bowing to a, a person, a human, as you said. Somebody just said, but he's God in a human body. We're all God in a human body because we're all that part of spirit. So whether you want to believe that or not, that's entirely up to yourself. But you've been lied to and told that you, like, in order to be protected, you had to go through someone like Trump who didn't give two fucks about you, or you had to go through a pastor, a priest, a rabbi, or uh, an idol figure. See, I went into a museum and I opened a Bible up, and it said in there about the gods are your idols. What the fuck are you idling them for? You know, I'll be honest, you're the one doing the work, so shouldn't they be the ones kissing your ass instead of the other way around? They're saying, well, we're giving you work. No, you're trying to give yourself selfish greed and popularity. The Epstein files, people are saying about, oh, Donald Trump saying the Democrats are on it and everything like that. And then it was Biden and Hillary made up the list. And then what was the other thing? It was there was no list. And it was always, oh, Nagel was saying the Democrats are all through it and everything like that. But see, the Republicans are the ones that really getting called out because they're being shown the liars like the other side lies too. But see, I looked it up because everyone was saying it was the Democrats holding it back, the release of the Epstein files. But I looked into it myself, and it actually wasn't the Democrats trying to hold it back. The Democrats were trying to have it pushed through. And if their names were on it to incriminate. But see, the thing is, their names are on it. But maybe they're more ready for it because they know it's you step up and be truthful now because it's always worse when they find out the truth later. That's where you get your witch because that's where the purge comes from. You're looking at the White House and you're saying all these fencings and everything else is going up. Why the fuck do you think all that fencing is going up? Seriously, why do you think all that fencing is going up? Because the purge. Have a look around. So it's all connected because they're all after the treasure. And those, because you know they're fracking, they're doing all this other stuff. Do you think that it's really because they just want the oil? No, they're hoping they hit something else. That's why they're more fracking, they're digging, they're doing a lot of digging into the ground. So yeah, do I now I know that the reason why I'm not getting contacted back and everybody's trying to shoo me away is because Donald Trump is the one funding the show and all that's taking place over there. See, when the settlers came to Nova Scotia, Germans came too. I don't, I don't like, don't mean, I believe for a minute that Donald Trump is the true son of Fred Trump. Because Fred Trump was doing the same thing. He was escorting his wife out until she just didn't look good no more. Why do you think she drank and depressed all the time? Narrow the ride, hey? I said, it did. You know, they put in so much mumbo jumbo that the stuff that you really need to be reading is all surrounded by crap. did a lot of research. And then when I started doing the research, I just started feeling it. See, I'm not going to suppress myself anymore for people because I make them uncomfortable. I had to do the work. I had to go inward and look at myself and my own family and ancestors. And it's a so I know I don't fit in. But they do say if you can't get something to fit in, then you make it stand out. Only with physical people, but with spirit, it surrounds me. Durese doron, ela corretarese tudo. It's nice to be able to see out the window clearly. Before it had a lot of like water stains and everything on it, burnt water stains. I know my door looks weird because I put in a new door and it's not red any longer, so it looks weird. I guess I have to fix something. Not painting the trim, but I base stain it. I look around, I'm just sitting in my house, and it's like, it's like a boom, because everything is pulled up from the wall, my couch and everything, so everything's confined. And I was figuring, no, fuck it, I ain't claiming shit right now. I didn't even make my bed or nothing. It's like they're pulling everything out. It's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna leave it because maybe that's spirit's way of telling me, hey, stop being so OCD. But I don't. It's not OCD as it is like OCD. You know what OCD? You're actually creating your OCD. You're creating a feng shui for yourself because you're feeling that movement within you. Never thought of it that way. Right? That's why I'll do it. Like I'll take my stuff. It's like I'm moving things because it adjusts my body. That's when you know that you're self-aware and you're spirit aware. See, does Donald Trump have dementia? In your medical terms, you would say that. But it's actually that he's committed so many sins that it's caught up with him. And he's fighting between the light and the dark. Right now, you say the dark is winning. For him, sadly. But Jesus never said, repent. He said, redeem yourself. Because Jesus had to redeem himself, whether you want to believe that or not. Because there were things that you did not see. I'm going to be reading the book of Thomas because someone said that it's in the book of Thomas where Jesus, as a young boy, killed a child by using his words. And do I believe that? Yes, I believe that that would have been possible. Because when I was in my, like I was in it was like I was put somewhere, like that astral travel, and I was laying on bed and like kind of sitting on the bed. I was like kind of like that, and this other person was with me, and they were screaming, hollering, and freaking out because we were in an underground bunker, and they were coming for us, and I just touched them, but I only put them to sleep so they would stop screaming, so that they would take me instead. It was I saw I had it after I died because it was like right on the brink. And I know where I'm at. This area was party to it because I'm being called to the bunker. Seeing that, you're going to break my neck. But I floated. I brought my legs up. I lifted off the bed after that person's asleep. I lifted up and I floated down at about waist level with a group of with people standing in the hallway. And I got to what was like a chief or something like that. And I come right up face to face. But I can't remember the face. But I'm pretty sure I know whose it is. Because then I was put in a room. And then I was in a room. And there were a group of men around me. And they were holding me. And one had brought their arm up like that. And they were ready to bust my neck. And then someone come in and said something. And they took me. But then I got freaked out and whoever the person was, it was like energy threw them backwards. They went flying. And then I was in a stand of trees, and then I was back home in my bed. I had a group of they were a form of grays, but they were more of the 5 foot grays with the longer gated head and really big eyes. Were like they were dressed in it was like they were dressed in scuba gear, but much the same color as their skin. And it was kind of like a gray with a hint, maybe a hint of a blue, but more of a that darker aspect of it. And they weren't moving the mouth, but they were trying to communicate with me. And I went out of there and it was back in my bed. And another time, it's like I was put on this bed that was really flat, and which leads me to the first time I was in the psychiatric unit in 2021. They had a bed that was like it was only about that high off the ground because it wasn't on any legs or anything like that. It was like a kid's bed, and it was like there was like eight eight of them around me, and it was like over here and over here, and their faces were little. And I had ones where I was running all around, like it was like I was running through a maze of concrete. And there was someone else running with me. And then there was another one where it was like I was in some kind of like outbuilding, and they had me in this chair. It was like an electrical chair or something like that. And there was somebody else there with me at that time, and I escaped. We escaped. But see, the thing is, was I seeing myself as one of the ancestors running through the tunnels, what you call the Underground Railway, because they were chasing me? Nobody says it's going to be a man in a red hat, but he's not going to be the right one. He's not going to be the real one because it's going to be a lady or lady in the red dress. You know, the one that went missing. Kohtaiessa seletusti tänne kääri tuokurite mussuleita äsra ja hattuukuresti tuukuma. Lisättäi. No, not everyone's cup of tea. You'll like me, you'll hate me. You'll love me, you'll loathe me. You can laugh or make you cry, I'll push you up, and you'll even sometimes want to punch me upside my head or make me disappear. And it wouldn't be the first one, it wouldn't be the last one, and it wouldn't be one that hasn't done it. Spirit. Esa neta que es real. Didn't learn these languages anymore. They just speak through me because it's the language of spirit. Is spirit the same as light language? Are you a light body? Because you come into your light body, you speak light language. And think spirit is the right way. I feel that in my guts, and some people are sitting with that, and that's just fine. Spirit's the aura, the orb. You see light, like people see orbs. So what the fuck do you think that is? It's a spirit lighting up. Doesn't mean that's always human. Could be a spirit, depending on the size and depending on the spiritual rank. In my wedding photos, when we were up with the justice of the peace, right up above my head, there was this big ball. There was a big ball of light, and then there were big balls that, like you could tell in the camera, like big balls, and they were all throughout. And people can't say, "Well, that was rain," because it wasn't rain. For one, because we were under the gazebo, and the rain wasn't getting on us. See, it's knowing that there are many versions of yourself like that. Say doppelgangers. Okay. They're called lookalikes, right? But a doppelganger looks like just like you, basically. And you have the lookalikes. Well, that's what Donald Trump is. See, would have, like where I said that I had that experience where two men in a white truck pulled up alongside of me when I was walking in a dirt road and asked me if I needed a lift anywhere. And when I got home, it doing like, and I did Smith because I had done the research with regards to John Smith and Tara Smith at 16 had gone missing. Do you know if you look down on Citadel Hill in Halifax, it looks much like a star? And that hill is overlooking George's Island. So those are things that I look at and look into. I take a totally different direction than what some other people do. the road less traveled, because that's where they're going to fight it. There, when we had COVID, and I had just got back from Alberta, and a guy I knew, the rest of his soul, his name was Mark, he said to me, he said, "When did you start following rules?" And he was a Mason, and he was with the Catholic Church. I did like him. It was pretty cool, but he was really got himself in a little bit of trouble. But he was the one that said, like, when did you start following rules? His spirit seen my spirit. And see, when I look at Donald Trump, do you guys not realize how many times he changes and looks different? Or is your eye not open wide enough for that? The man with many faces. He tries to make them look identical. One day he's got a fat, chubby face, and the next day he's got a really, like, his face is different. One picture he looked like friggin' Elon Musk. I guess he forgot to take the rest of his makeup off. He said, "Lo te quieto, tu yes, no way." Or maybe he forgot to put it on. Galata te kiserai, no? Siento presa. See, this is what I'm bringing. I heard someone say she's nervous. Yes, because co-host thing just come up. I don't want to be doing this over an internet like this. This to me, like even if you see people or what have you, it's almost antisocial because, like I said many times, I'm not here to debate your belief systems. I'm saying there are other ways of looking at things, different perspectives, different point of views, because they've seen something from a different angle that you never see. See, just last night, my ex-husband wanted me, and I do, yes, because I live with him. Well, he lives upstairs. He wanted me to remind him to do something today. And I told him no. because he told me that you have a really good memory. So if I have a really good memory, so when I bring something up from a memory, why are you telling me that that's not true or I'm lying? Makes sense, right? So I told him, no, you need to use your own brain. You need to learn how to work your own brain so that you can remember the stuff yourself instead of hijacking someone else's brain and saying that it's everybody else doing it to you. See, with Jesus saying, if you don't hate the father, if you don't hate the mother, if you don't hate the brothers and sisters, then you can't follow him. Then when you scream out, I hate you, that's the child. And the father and mother do it because they're all child wounds. So when I holler out when somebody's being an arsehole and you say I'm acting like a little child, no, it's that part of that little child was abused and it's standing up for itself. And it has the backup because the mother stepped up to protect it. The father and the child were fighting because they were in competition with their children. You know, certain animals will eat their young, right? Uranus didn't want the kids to come out, didn't want the kids born. So does that represent the 9 months? Did it take her 9 months to set the children free? Or was she going through so much pain that she had to get them out? And then, okay, that would have been Uranus, and it was Kronos to cut the testicles off, so it made him impotent. You know, the mule. Hey, Donald, I must ask, what did Ivanica do to your testicles? Oh, I just heard the bitch bit him. Oh, there goes my phone. I guess I should have checked to see if my phone was plugged in. So we're just gonna wait a minute. Okay. Sorry about that. I guess I should have made sure that my phone was plugged in. Well, my phone was plugged in, but the lamp that it was plugged into isn't. So back to what I was saying about like there's when okay, how many remember the thing with regards to the Paris Olympics or whatever when they had the Last Supper and it was drag queens mimicking it? Was that Peter? Because see, Donald Trump is it he's against LGBTQ. Do I agree that they should be going in the same bathroom? You know, they need to bring the co-ed back, and that is everyone. And you know that irritated some people. But that's you know that solves the controversy. That solves the fighting. But do you want to do that, or do you just want to say that you? They used to have co-ed washrooms. Now, see, King James Bible, they interpret it as gays being wrong. But King James was gay himself. He was bisexual. He really liked the men, or should I say the boys, much like Peter liked the boys too, because he could influence them. It's harder to influence a grown man. So is that what they were telling you when they said that Peter chose to be staked at the cross upside down? Was he the one that said he was coming back? I thought that is what it was. Dice la católica, no, like Peter Pan. Peter Pan was the father of Rumpelstiltskin, but didn't want to. He wanted to be a kid again because he would have no responsibility. But he didn't. But Peter Pan got lonely, and that's why he became Peter Piper. And to the Lost Boys, he became Saint Peter for the Lost Gals. Because oh wait, there was one girl, Wendy. See, I read one thing where Mary Magdalene, when she was 16, she was in a convent and she would whip herself. And it was a Catholic convent. She would whip herself for her sins because when she had Jesus, they sent her off to a convent and kept telling her she was a sinner. She was a whore. There she whipped herself because because of the sins, right? Okay. She was whipping herself for Christ. She was whipping herself for her son because she regretted not being not being able to be there. But she had to run away. And she learned healing. And she had to protect herself from the times. That's why when you watch the series Chosen, at the beginning when they have that Mary Magdalene had a man bleeding and he went to the pastors, the church. They said she was demon possessed, but she was actually fighting her assailant off. And that is the Father of Jesus. She's 15 years older than Jesus. No, you did say he was 33 and she was 48, right? Or right around there. Mi età non ancora. Right now, I'm just sitting in the energy and holding it. And there's nobody out there. Oh, she's out there. So, go beyond what you see in front of you and realize a lot of things are deeper. What the fuck was that thing? That was weird. Just like that. That was kind of like a decoy. When I said a decoy, it was like what was in front of me and Rolly came behind me. But if people don't think that if people are seeing, like, I feel someone behind you. How you like making faces at me too. Pobrecito Priyanita y Shulika. One day someone said that John was behind me. Ironically, there was a man that owned a house that his name was John, and he just happened to be a Baptist. He wasn't John, Jesus' cousin. He said at the career, the Kimokotia Sora, the Surashavia, the Karavikia, the Kia, the Kuru, the Karikim, the Kurukia. Seriously, give it to me. Oh, yeah. Kirohayan, wait. Yeah, I know that there's spirits around right now, and there's a fly right on my back. But it's like there's something going right around here that knows and stuff. It always likes attention. It's like I'm not going to say this is for entertainment purposes only because you may see it for entertainment, but it's not for entertainment purposes because spirit's not here to entertain you. It's like you feel your body like it just everything expand. Sometimes it almost feels like it's like an explosion within you. Supernova heard. See, I don't intentionally try to read people. I read you because you open your energy up to me. Sometimes it's not kind of you need to hear something. You know it yourself, but you just need somebody else to say it or it's validation. Even sometimes we feel like we could use some sympathy. That's why we're opening up now and becoming more empathic. Even ones that were not empathic. Empaths. Is that better for you? I'm not being rude. I'm just like, it's just like, people will split hairs over the way you fucking word something. And I know sometimes things are all in the wording, but empathic, very sensitive, and you're a telepath. Telepathy. Because you read language, you read energy, so you connect more. And the ones that in your government, they are the ones in the church, so they are the ones that are using dark black magic against you. And the ones that have a bitter mind. Because sometimes we're all using light magic and black magic on each other. Because every time you say words, you're casting a spell and you're creating that reality. That's why, like, right now, like, when we're looking for electronics, you think of it this way. You're not just seeing real world on here. You're seeing the multiverse on here. You're seeing the different realms, the parallel worlds. You're seeing it all in real time on here, but you're told fiction. But you're on the web. The web just doesn't mean the earth, the web of the universe. So that's why some people are seeing one thing and others are seeing another, depending on which version of what you perceive to be Earth you're seeing. Go watch the series Loki. You'll understand what I mean then, and you can say you watch too many shows. Too many shows. No, I watch the ones that are actually telling us something because it had the watchers in it. See, I'm pretty certain that the watchers came to visit me. Oh, there's a hummingbird. Because in 2020, there's a supermoon. When that weird shit went down for me, and I seen the three beings in one corner. Two appeared to be human, and they appeared to be twins, and it appeared to be East Indian twins. One wearing a long black gown, one wearing a long white gown, and the others were just extra thread. Well, it was a Mongolian one, and then one that looked like Cronus. And it does have a pretty good depiction of what he looks like. And then the other one, you know, Shiva the Destructor. So in total, there were five of them, 5 dimensions, kind of, sort of like. Who knows? Maybe they weren't aware of each other being there, but I think they were. because somehow I ended up in a totally different parallel world or something where nobody could hear me screaming for help. So let's just say it's pretty trippy because there's times when you're actually going through time. Well, through a form of space and time, which means you're shifting. And that's why I keep seeing different versions of Donald Trump or different versions of my family members or just other people. They're saying one thing on one side and they're saying another thing on another side. And I noticed stuff like that. I've even put it up here and cross-referenced and showed you. They're contradicting themselves. Kaya tayo ito, just trying to keep the camp really up. You know, a lot of parents are weary sometimes sending their kids to camp, not because of people like Jeffrey Epstein. And I will say, you know, from what I understand, Donald Trump did some stuff to a 13-year-old girl. So I'm figuring out where all these other people fit within the actual scheme of things, the actual. To say truth, but there is to say truth, everyone thinks that what they know is the truth. In a sense, it is because that's how your ancestors observed it or experienced it. Somebody witnessed, yes, but that's a splitting hair. Everyone is a witness. Every time you look at someone, you are a witness to this, whether you're aware of it or not. But it's about being present in your own moment. So that's why Donald Trump don't want to bring out the Jeffrey Epstein. He's saying that it doesn't exist. It's like, you know, Spirit says you can run, but you can't hide. Spirit's everywhere, all at once, all at the same time, everywhere. And I'm not talking a camera, like a physical camera. You know, you got surveillance everywhere. But I'm talking about spirit is in places where surveillance don't get it. Some could say that I just kind of hearing that like a resting bitch face. You might have a resting bitch face too, but it's not that I don't laugh because I do. I always seem serious, but I know when I'm able not to be serious. Because if I look angry at people, it's like spirit is angry for a reason. You caught something that, maybe other people never caught. That's the spirit awareness. And you are the one that becomes aware. But when I seen in the book of Thomas to Elizabeth, that took me right back to when he said in the funeral trial that Elizabeth died in fire. But I had channeled that prior too, that Elizabeth didn't die. She was the daughter of my sixth great granddaddy. And when they killed him, they took her. And they started trafficking her. So it was like Wendy in Peter Pan. Think of Papa Smurf. 100 Smurfs, and Smurfette being one. The 100 were male, and then one Smurfette. You know how you can like see these things. You see it as a kid's show, but that's Papa Smurf with his Lost Boys and his little Smurfette. He created Smurfette and tried to turn her into a whore. They say the whore. They say God only had boys, but then there was a girl, which was Lucifer. Because you all say that the archangels are mostly men, right? Lucifer was the female. Michael was cute. Or not Michael. The father was Peter, because Peter was actually the one who betrayed. Jesus. So if Peter, I say, is Donald Trump, then Peter betrayed Jesus, and that would represent Jeff, Jeffrey Epstein. And I know you're saying, well, you're putting him in the form of Jesus. Well, if you knew the real story of different things, because they all had to go through their stuff to become holy, right? The initiation, because Peter, like I said, Peter was the one that turned Jesus in. Why do you think he denied him 3 times? Wasn't Judas? Judas got accused and blamed of it, and later took his own life, not out of guilt, but how he was treated. Was Judas innocent? No, he did steal money because he ran. Kisama Shmayata, Elabikera Brakaharasia, Niktokoe Kusi, Efratai Turu, I like being around people that are like just so in the spirit. Because most of the time it's just peace and calm. I laugh with spirit, I cry with spirit, I scream with spirit, I argue with spirit. Sometimes it's like I put the dukes up with spirit, because it's like the spirits are duking it out. So hey, if you guys don't realize that there's also stuff in those files with regards to the time traveling that they were doing, well, that's why they're hiding it, and it implicates them all. See, the thing is, it goes to a thing that, individuals are allowed to request the information. It's called the Freedom of Information. You know, fuck what the Senate does. Why don't you all come together and petition? you really want to know the truth, then do the work. Get the petition. Because you, as individuals, can get access to that information. So I say, they can only stall so long. But see, they will hide your rights from you unless you will dig it. Don't believe me? Look into it. Freedom of Information Act. You know, people do the inquiries. Well, why don't you get the Freedom of Information Act? Not allow somebody to give you the information that they want to give you and hide the rest. See, they'll try to black everything out. But this is an international crime because they were coming from all over the world. But you know that. So now why don't you put it into action? Get the Freedom of Information Act and get the files. Because the people are more powerful than the government. And they know that. That's why, you know, it's much like the woman at the church told me about my tree. First, she said a porcupine ate at it. Then it was a group of kids that were vandalizing the churchyard. Was it deer? And then, oh, it just died. But see, I showed it to a tree specialist, tree guy, ones that work around that stuff all the time and know what the stuff looks like. And see, I inquired myself of what the woman that worked that's in charge of the church said with regards to the kids vandalizing the churchyard. And it didn't, there were no kids there at all because the one that, you know, right around there, they said there was no vandalism anywhere. But see, people would just believe, they'll believe Peter Pan again. And don't turn it back on him because he'll rip your heart out and stab you in the back of the brain. And that's figuratively speaking. Or maybe he does. You know, King George did like to cut off people's heads, much like the Queen words. I'll flip her head. You know, that's how they try to kill a vampire. You know, you'll say, ah. You say it's mythology, it's fiction. Then why do you watch it? Somebody said for fun. Now you watch it because it was a part of your past lives. It was your ancestors. Don't blame me. I don't care. You'll say that people are eating that there's cannibalism, and you'll say about adrenochrome, but you'll say there's no vampires. Hello? It's a vampire. A vampire is a bloodsucker, right? Direttori lasciamo soccorrito qui. It's like, I believe in spirit. I don't believe in a system. I don't believe that one religion is more true than the other. Sila to tayo kung something's in the air. See, the reason why these judges and what have you, why they're doing this is because if you do look back at the bootlayer trial, the judge even had blood stains on his hands. And what's going on right now? They're doing a lot of cover ups through the court system, right? You all got to lie together. So when Donald Trump says, where we go one, we go all, he was referring to ones like you. So it was like, what you perceive to be history is actually still the now because the truth never came out. So they kept living the lie. They've all come through time. Travelers. Get into Korea. Leave me alone. I don't care. Use your own discernment. But I'm not going to say this is it for entertainment purposes only because it's not. I'm not going to censor myself. I didn't come here to get followers. I didn't come here to get your money or your subscriptions. I came here to bring awareness and question the false narrative. So, you know, there's my theory on why they're not releasing the Epstein files. So, with that being said, I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings, importantly, very good health to anyone and everyone wanting, willing to receive and accept. I want you all to be big, bold, brave, most importantly, be yourself, be your authentic self. Be true and kind to yourself, be true and kind to others, and know that you have more strength than you can comprehend at times. Because the healing starts with you. The truth starts with you. Spirit comes to you and works for you, not someone else that you think you should be looking to. You're not going to get there through them. Get there through you. And it's not about Christianity, Catholic, Protestant, Lutheran. It's about the true Christ. And that's the Christ consciousness. That's the true Christianity. Send my love. Let Policia Toy. Listen to the cries of danger.